In order for you to really embody divine feminine energy, whether it's to attract a provider man or to manifest whatever it is you want in life, to be honest, then you need to get really good at receiving. The problem is that a lot of women have been told a lot of stories as to why they shouldn't receive, why it makes them weak to receive, and a whole lot of mess out here that doesn't even make sense when you really start to dissect it. In this video, we're going to be covering what some of those common stories are and how they are BS, so that you as a woman can start getting more into the divine feminine energy and become a better receiver, not just of provision, not just from men, but really anything that you want in life. Hi, my name is Amanda. Welcome to this channel where we talk about how to manifest what you want in life without all the extra stress, chaos, and drama that most people are accustomed to. So if that's something that you're interested in, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single video that we have coming out on this channel. I have a goal of daily videos at least 3 times a week, but right now I've got a goal of daily videos. So you're definitely not going to want to miss any of them. And also, do me a favor, give this video a like because it helps to get this in front of more women. There's so much confusion out here about masculine energy, feminine energy, polarity in relationships, how to communicate in relationships, and those are all topics that we're covering on this channel. So make sure to give it a like because it helps us get it in front of more people. And as always, I have resources to help you, those of you who want to go deeper. In this case, the best resources are going to be the Masculine and Feminine Energy Dynamics Masterclass, which you can find below. And for those of you who've been asking about working privately with me, you can find the information for that below as well. An interesting thing has been happening both with private coaching clients, and also I've seen it coming up in the comment section of this YouTube channel, and that is a lot of women, when they hear about, hey, in order for you to get in your divine feminine energy, you have to get very good at receiving, and then immediately they start to realize that they have a weird relationship with receiving, which, by the way, most women do. And the thing that I find more interesting is that it's happening all over the world, because we're starting to get attention from multiple different countries, and it seems like, a lot of us in the West think it's just a Western problem, right? Because of what we've been taught about equality and all that kind of stuff. But I'm starting to realize that this is kind of happening all over the world, because I'm in Mexico right now and it's starting to happen here too. Some of you are in Asia and you're telling me it's happening to you, both East Asia and South Asia. So it's kind of this interesting thing where it's almost like this, I don't know, almost like a virus that's gone on all over the world that's causing a lot of confusion and, quite frankly, a lack of polarity in healthy relationships. So first, before getting into the stories, let's first establish why it's so important for women to learn how to receive, especially when those of you who are looking for romantic love from a masculine man. Masculine men love to give. That's their job, is to give to you. Nothing makes them happier than giving to you. But if you're not good at receiving that, then healthy masculine men are going to pull away. Or those of you who are married already, they're just going to stop trying, right? Because they're going to be like, there's nothing I can do to make this lady happy. So they're just going to stop trying. Those of you who are dating, if you're not good at receiving, the healthy ones are going to pull away. And what you end up doing is you end up attracting the non-healthy ones who do value you for what it is that you do versus who it is that you are. And a lot of you have already been in situations with men like that, and you realize, hey, this ain't it. Right? So it's really important to realize that receiving is the realm of the feminine, and we have to get very good at it. Now, let's get into some of the stories that many of you have been told as to why you should not receive. There's 2 main ones that have been coming up, and I'm going to totally debunk them for you. So the first one that's coming up is it's weak for me to receive. Or more specifically, it's weak for me to ask for help, right? Which asking for help is a form of receiving. Now, normally what helps me when I'm trying to take on a new belief or a new thought is that I start to look for evidence as to why the opposite is actually true and what I was taught is actually not true. So number one, most of you were taught this growing up by your parents, and unfortunately most people didn't see healthy relationship dynamics growing up. So if your parents did not have the dynamic that you desire in your relationship, it's time to stop paying attention. Because a lot of, and I don't mean to say that in a way where they did a bad job. Like, not everybody, even the most well-meaning parents who did a good job, like my parents are amazing, they're very well-meaning, they've been together for a very long time, don't want their dynamic, because my mother and father don't understand a lot of the things that I talk about on this video. That being said, once I realized I didn't want their dynamic, I started to go find evidence, and I started to learn about what is healthy communication in a relationship. What does a polarized relationship look like? What do I desire in a relationship? And then how do I go get that? So just realize that. And I know for a lot of people, like, sometimes it feels like you're disrespecting your parents or something like that. You're not. You are your own individual. You are your own human being. You know, they have their life, you have your life, they have their lessons, you have your lessons. And, you know, a lot of us also come from cultures where, like, it just, the whole conversation around, you know, therapy and how to be in healthy relationships and how to be healthy humans and stuff like that, like, it wasn't really a thing until recently. So you also have to keep that in mind, that for several generations, like, people were just repeating patterns over and over and over again, and it was never a thought to be like, oh, maybe this is a pattern and maybe I need to go get therapy. Like, that wasn't a thing for a lot of generations. So we have to give them some grace for that as well. So in terms of asking for help and that being a weakness, let me explain to you, not even using a relationship dynamic, I'm going to use other situations in life in which that makes zero sense. So for example, let's say you run a business, you know, because I've run businesses. My husband and I were entrepreneurs before we even met, but I've run a few businesses in my day, and so has he. You can't run a business by yourself. You can't do it. Running a business by yourself and trying to do everything by yourself means the business does not grow. And the reason why the business does not grow is because your time and energy as a business owner needs to be spent on the growth of a business. You can't be worried about low-level things, for example, or things that don't give you enough growth for you, the owner, to be using your time on that. So what do? You hire help. You ask for help. Or for example, in entrepreneurial spaces, it's very common for people to go invest in asesoría, in living between two languages. I forget words in each language all the time. Consulting or coaching or training in order for the business to grow. The problem is most people don't do that. When it comes to relationships, it's not seen, you're seen as more of a failure if you go do that when it comes to relationships, which again is just a total stigma, because it means you're giving too many shits what other people think about you, rather than you being like, hey, I'm going to go get my life together and I'm going to go ask for help because clearly there's something that I don't know. So do you notice how in one scenario it would be absolutely crazy not to have help, not to ask for help, but then for some reason in this area of our lives, like, you're just not supposed to ask for help? It doesn't make any sense. Another area is a household or raising kids. One thing that's really interesting about here in Mexico is it's very family oriented. I'm originally from the United States. We're in Mexico right now. And in the United States, it's a very individualistic culture. It's very pick yourself up by your bootstraps. You don't have families living within close proximity to each other a lot of the time, which me as a Latina and Cuban, like me as a Latina, that's like crazy. But that's how American culture is. Here in Mexico, it's not like that. In Mexico, like, the families are usually very close to each other. They understand that there's a lot more community effort and group effort when it comes to things. And I have some theories as to why that's probably why you see a lot less mental health issues here than you do in the United States, but I digress. That's a conversation for my husband's YouTube channel, right? But there's an understanding here that things are a group effort and you're not supposed to do everything by yourself. Like, that's crazy in this kind of a culture. So a lot of it may also have to do with where you come from in your culture, the country you were raised in, those sorts of things, in terms of, you know, asking for help being a weakness. Asking for help is just smart. Asking for help is what intelligent people do. Asking for help is what people who value themselves do, because your most valuable assets are your time and your energy. You're not getting those two things back. So they're your most valuable assets in life. And people who value themselves know that those are their most valuable assets. Therefore, if you have limited time and limited energy, then it would behoove you to go ask for help so you can have energy and time for the things that are important and matter and move things forward. So that's number one, right? It's just completely like if we were to take that same logic to business, you wouldn't have a business. It would not grow. If you were to take that same logic into a household, it's unsustainable. It's unsustainable for anybody to do anything, everything, all themselves. The second story that's coming up a lot is the idea that if someone gives you something, then you must give something in return. Why aren't you valuable enough and worthy enough to receive? That's my question. Like, to the people who believe that. And perhaps if your parents are the ones who taught you that, they probably didn't think that they were worthy enough to receive very much in life either. And again, that just makes your life freaking difficult because, let's take this in the realm of money, right? Because money and men aren't that different. Let's take this in the realm of money. If you can't accept gifts from people, if you can't accept help from people, which are forms of provision, and then what makes you think you're going to be able to receive money easily? You're not, because the universe is constantly trying to give you stuff, and you're like, no, 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 I'm just not worthy of it. Or no, 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 I haven't earned this. I have to go earn it. So this whole idea of if somebody gives me something, then I have to give something back, and that anxiety and that discomfort comes from stories about having to earn good things, comes from stories of I have to work really hard, comes from stories of in order for me to deserve this, I must do something in order to deserve this, which is not divine feminine energy at all. Divine feminine energy is like, I am worthy of this. I am, thank you, universe, first of all, for sending me these things, whether it's provision or gifts or help or anything. Thank you, universe, number one. And number two, receiving it with joy, receiving it with pleasure, receiving it because you know that you're worthy, and it doesn't have anything to do with what you do. You don't have to earn everything in life. That is a very toxic way of thinking about how the world works, that you have to earn everything. You don't, right? Especially as a woman, a lot of it just has to do with who you are being. That being said, right? You also have to think of it this way, right? Like if you were to give a gift to somebody, right? Or if you were to help somebody with something and they keep shooing you away, right? Or they're like, oh no, you shouldn't have, or they keep downplaying it, how does that make you feel as the giver? Probably not great, okay? Unless you were a manipulative person. Because if you're a manipulative person, because these kinds of people do exist in the world, but this is not authentic behavior, it's very conniving. Unless you were the type of person who's like, oh, I'm going to give so that then they're obligated to give me something in return, that's sick, right? And it's manipulative and it's twisted and it's very inauthentic, and people don't respond well to it because they're like, oh, that person only gives because they expect me that I'm going to give them something in return. It's gross, right? So this is almost like the inverse of that imagine somebody's really giving to you out of the kindness of their heart and their generosity, but you shut it down. It makes them feel like crap unless they're a manipulative person, right? But if they're not a manipulative person, which most people are not, it doesn't make somebody feel good when, even if they give you, like this happened to me the other day. I was in town, I saw a girl, I loved her dress, and I was like, oh my God, I love your dress. And she goes, instead of saying thank you, oh my gosh, thank you so much, and receiving it, in Mexico they say this thing, a la orden, which literally translated is like, a la orden is like, how do I translate that into English? I don't think it exists in English. At your service. Oh, that's what it is, at your service in English. And I'm like, at your service, like you're gonna take this dress off and like give it to me? Like, first of all, no, you're not gonna do that. And second of all, how awkward, right? Like, why don't you just like receive it, right? So notice how, let's say you, like in that situation, I was giving a girl a genuine compliment. I loved her dress, right? And instead of just saying thank you so much and receiving it, she was like, at your service. And I'm like, what a bizarre thing to say. Like I was left in my head is this like a cultural thing that I'm missing? Is this like, and then I brought it up with some of my Mexican friends and they're like, yeah, like we're horrible at taking compliments. We really got to get better at doing that. And also it turned into a conversation about how like ingenuine and inauthentic it is, because it's not like she was going to take her dress off in that moment and give it to me, right? It was more of like a people pleasing thing rather than genuinely receiving the gift of the compliment kind of a thing. So a lot of the times, a lot of the things that we've been taught about asking for help is makes you weak, or, you know, if you receive something, you have to give something in return. A lot of the stuff is just based on lack and lack mentality and lack behavior and not being good enough as you are. Or, and some of it at its worst is just based on very manipulative behavior, like people pleasing or trying to get something out of other people. And because they operate that way in life, then they think that's like their twisted worldview of how things work, when in reality it's just very inauthentic and not genuine at all. So the main key to keep in mind here is that if you have been told these limiting beliefs about receiving, they're just not true. That's not how the world works at all. That's not how energy works. That's not how manifesting works. That's not how the universe works. That's not how relationships works. It's not even how psychology works. So again, a lot of these ideas are just rooted in things that aren't even true and aren't even real. So I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you did, give it a like. I'm going to go enjoy a swim and the rest of my afternoon, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.